Being traced back before the age of the Erd Tree, the Carian royal family governed the lands of Liurnia, and they ran the Academy of Raya Lucaria. But all this power came at a cost. Rifts in the family resulted in a seemingly never-ending power struggle, with betrayals, banishments, and even murder. One of the friendliest members of the Carian family is that of War Councillor Iji, the blacksmith for the Carian royals.
I am Iji, a blacksmith who once served the Carian royals. An old codger who refuses to retire his rusty hammer. So here I am, still quietly plying my trade on this spot.
Iji is such a warm individual, but involved in such an intense family. Yet it's still a surprise to later find Iji laying next to his precious anvil, dead. Who would want such a lovable troll dead? And for what reasons? Let's retrieve our detective hat and investigate this murder. Taping off the crime scene, let's examine the surroundings to see what clues we can find. Iji seems to have had his neck snapped, laying slumped in the middle of the road, close to his anvil. This is interesting as Iji is always at his anvil, so you suspect if his death was instant, like a snapping of the neck would be, that would be where his corpse would be laying. So maybe he was aware of something that caused him to move to the road, perhaps in an attempt to escape, or to confront his attackers. Iji's body seems to be consumed by black flames. The black flame was an incantation of the Godskin Apostles, a fireball of black flame that explodes on impact, while also doing damage over time. If we observe the area around our victim, we can find 3 more bodies, Black Knife assassins. These look to have been felled by Iji, but perhaps there were many more that overwhelmed him. So is this just a simple shut case, that it's the Black Knife assassins who murdered Iji? Well, fellow detective Melodic Rush 505 raises a good point. The Black Knife assassin's weapons would leave behind a red flame, and not a black one. So it seems like there could be more parties at play here. And the motive for why the Black Knife assassins wanted to murder Iji still seems unclear. The last pieces of evidence for us to gather appear on top of Iji's anvil. Iji's bell bearing, which can be given to the Twin Maiden husks to gain access to new items, confirms that this death is indeed of Iji the Smithing Master. Also dropped is Iji's mirror helm, an item that is not coupled with any other armour. It was said to have never left War Councillor Iji's head. Worn by those committed to high treason, it wards off the intervention of the Greater Will and its vassal fingers. Iji was afraid, terrified of his own treachery. Strangely, Iji's mirror helm is actually still physically on his corpse, so we could put this down as a developer shortcut and assume that it was left at his anvil. If Iji did die with his helm still on, like most creatures throughout Elden Ring, it should be dropped on his body. But these items are very clearly placed on his anvil, away from his corpse. Although the bell bearing could hint that he did in fact die at his anvil, with his corpse being strangely moved after death. Now a lot of evidence has been left behind, which seems to have left a couple of doors open for us. So let's investigate the most obvious one first, the Black Knife assassins, who embarrassingly left their own dead bodies behind. The Black Knife assassins are one of the most notorious groups in the Lands Between, having killed Godwyn the Golden with daggers imbued with a fragment of the Rune of Death, during an event later known as the Night of the Black Knives.
They say the assassins who carried out the deed were scions of the Eternal City, a group entirely of women, arrayed in armour of silver under cloaks which fooled the eye.
So if the assassins did actually kill Iji, then what would be their motive? Perhaps they are being puppeteered by a much stronger force.
Now I have a fairly good idea who performed the rite upon the blade. The person who orchestrated the Night of the Black Knives, Lunar Princess Ranni.
Now with this information, it would be quite easy to point the finger at Ranni. Ranni orchestrated the Black Knife assassins at the Night of the Black Knives, so surely she could easily order them to kill Iji. But why? Ranni, the first heir in the Carian royal line, had many loyal followers. Her war councillor, Iji, was one of them, swearing allegiance to be a vassal along with her half-brother Blyde. When Rani chose the dark path of the Empyrean, she led them all into a realm of danger. Like Valamir 89 suggests, maybe Rani sent the Black Knives after Iji to remove all links of her past. Blythe can also be found around dead Black Knife assassins outside of Rani's rise.
No. I'm part of her very being. I can never betray her. Rani. She needs me.
Even with assassins threatening Blythe's life, he's loyal to the bitter end. And it seems that Rani is also loyal in return.
Blythe and Iji both. Kind of heart. Art willing to give too much to me. I love them. That I must betray everything. And rid the world of what came before.
Rani does admit that her journey means that she will need to cut ties to her past, so it is feasible that she ordered the killings of both Iji and Blythe. Blythe was actually a follower provided to Rani by the Two Fingers.
But if Lady Rani, as an Empyrean, resists being an instrument of the Two Fingers, the Shadow will go mad, transforming from a follower into a horrid curse.
From what we can witness, it seems that Blythe was in the process of turning mad, but still managed to ward off the Black Knife assassins before later succumbing to his urges and turning on the Tarnished. So perhaps Rani wasn't actually in charge of the Black Knife assassins. Maybe it was the Two Fingers. The Black Knife assassins can be found trying to enter Rani's rise when Rani herself slays the Two Fingers. The Two Fingers had chosen Rani to be Marika's successor, but Rani disagreed with the ways of the Golden Order and didn't want to be a puppet for the Greater Will. She uses the Fingerslayer blade, a blood-drenched proof of the high treason committed. The Two Fingers undoubtedly viewed this action as treachery and sent the Black Knife assassins to kill Rani. Under Tuor I'm Not There supposes that the Black Knife assassins were always controlled by the Two Fingers, even during the Knights of the Black Knives. Potentially the death of Godwyn was always destined, but maybe Marika intended Godwyn to die a true, total death, which Rani took as an opportunity to split, with her physical body dying along with Godwyn's soul, condemning Godwyn, but allowing her to evade the Greater Will. The Black Knife set states that the assassins that carried out the deeds of the Knight of the Black Knives were all women, and rumoured to be Newman, who had close ties with Marika herself. So maybe Marika is the true conspirer behind these Carian deaths. Chrono Clock 417 goes along with Under Tuor I'm Not Here's theory that Marika wanted Godwyn completely dead. The curse mark of the death description is that the curse mark is carved into the discarded flesh of Rani the Witch. This curse mark was carved at the moment of the death of the first demigod, and should have been in the shape of a circle. However, two demigods perish at the same time, breaking the curse mark into two half-wheels. Godwyn was theorised to be very much aligned with the Golden Order, with even his name showing support to the Golden Order, Godwyn the Golden. And we can glean a degree of what his support to the Golden Order would have been from Godric's final words.
I am the Lord of all that is golden. And one day, we'll return together to our home, bathed in rays of gold.
In Marika's path to break away from the Golden Order and the Greater Will, it seems that she severed strong ties to them like Godwyn, with Rani kind of preventing this by half-killing herself. This could have moved the crossfire to her, with the assassinations of her closest allies, Iji and Blythe. So these Black Knife assassins have really led us to the two main suspects so far, Rani and Marika, who in their own way could have murdered Iji in order to distance themselves from the ever-entangled Carian family. But we still have much more evidence to go through. The black flames around the body, an incantation of the Godskin's apostles, still has yet to be explained. The Godskin apostles are horrors that are made flesh. Tireless hunters, they are draped in pelts of sacred skin, the gods that they have slain before. The incantation Black Flame ritual states that the apostles were led by the Gloam-Eyed Queen. It is said that she was an Imperium chosen by the Fingers. This means, like the Black Knife assassins, the Godskin apostles could have also been in control by someone that is or was affiliated with the Greater Will. So maybe whoever was the leader of the Apostles was also the one to sentence E.G. to death. But who were they, and why would they do this? Such Imperiums could be our usual suspects such as Marika and Rani, who were already chosen by the Fingers for other duties. But they don't seem too likely, as it's quite possible that inner gods like Marika were in fact themselves targets of the Godskin Apostles. Bayan Telk believes that the Gloam-Eyed Queen is in fact Melina. During the Frenzied Flame ending, Melina's ever-shut eyes open, to reveal a cloudy blue eye, perhaps the Eye of Gloam. The Apostles were said to have served destined death, the Black Flame, and Melina does mention her thoughts on death at the Forge of the Giant.
This world is in dire need of repair, and death indiscriminate.
It seems that Melina also believes that the world needs destined death. The Blade of Calling, Melina's blade, states that the one who walks alongside flame shall one day meet the road of destined death. I personally don't think it's likely that Melina would really be the Gloam-Eyed Queen. It seems her task is to burn the Erd Tree, a task given by Marika, so she's at least not aware of their involvement with the Godskin Apostles. One of the Elden Ring soundtracks, titled Godskin Apostles, has lyrics in what would assume to be Latin. Daniel Olmos has spent some time roughly translating this assumed Latin track into English. It seems like this song is the song of the Godskin Apostles, and through this, they may reveal their true leader. But in truth, we only serve one. The Gloam-Eyed Queen. Dethroned by the Black Blade. A splendid Imperium. The Recusant is named. St. Trina, my mother. St. Trina, my mother. The Black Blade. Felled our sacred child. This song seems to indicate that Miquella is St. Trina and the Gloam-Eyed Queen, the creator of the Black Flame, perverting the Golden Order. Miquella is an Imperium, cursed to be forever young, and could have theoretically been the Imperium chosen by the Fingers. But Miquella was born after the containment of destined death, which would imply that they're not the Gloam-Eyed Queen. But this could be argued with the translated lyrics that Miquella and St. Trina is an unfathomable god, stuck in the cycle of rebirth. But we do need to keep in mind that this song is translated by us, the fans, so it could be completely incorrect. Still a very interesting thought though. And if we take a step back into our crime scene, what motive would the Gloam-Eyed Queen have, or the Apostles for that matter, to kill E.G.? There are some loose connections to the Gloam-Eyed Queen and the Carians. A Godskin noble can be found at the Volcano Manor near where Rykard is located. And the Godslayer sword, the Sword of the Gloam-Eyed Queen, can be found in Caelid, along with a Godskin Apostle, potentially related to the presence of Radahn. Although this is very loose, we could utilise this as a crux for why the Godskin Apostles will be going after Rani, maybe through the treachery of past relationships, and this cost the life of E.G. But this is very loose, and the only confirmation we have of the Godskin Apostles actually killing E.G. is through the Black Flame, the Flame of Death. Maybe something else could explain this Black Flame. Alecto, the ringleader of the Black Knife Assassins, is imprisoned in an Everjail. Alecto can perform the move Helm Splitter, leaping through the air while unleashing a torrent of spinning blades. Alecto's Helm Splitter in particular is imbued with something very familiar, Destined Death, which is a dark flame. So some of the Black Knife Assassins also had this Black Flame of Destined Death. So perceivably the one that killed E.G. could have had this power, with the Godskin Apostles actually having nothing to do with E.G.'s murder at all. I would say that they are free to go, but they probably murdered many other gods, so it may not be a good idea. But there is one more crucial item that we haven't investigated yet that may add another dimension to our murder. E.G.'s mirror helm, which was left on E.G.'s anvil, was a helm fashioned from a crystal-looking glass, and was said to have never left the War Councillor's head. Worn by those committed to high treason, it wards off the intervention of the Greater Will and its vassal Fingers. E.G. was afraid and terrified of his own treachery. Descriptions of items in Elden Ring mainly have two purposes. They either explain its use, like the Carian inverted statue, or they explain the world's lore. In this case, the mirror helm does not have any actual use by the Tarnished to ward off the Greater Will, so it must have been worn by E.G. to do so. Crayola clock conveys that this could mean that E.G. ends up killing himself, having removed his helm, alerting the Greater Will and the Fingers of his location, with the murdering Black Assassins conveniently fulfilling his death wish. Before we witness Blythe's descent into madness, E.G. reveals his understanding of Blythe's curse to keep Rani under the thumb of the Fingers.
It pains me so, but he must be neutralized for Lady Rani's sake.
Blythe was locked up by E.G., contained in a cell, but he not only manages to break free, but also valiantly defends Rani.
Blythe became a curse that plagued Lady Rani, yet even in madness gave himself to her. I've made a grave misjudgment, and I thought myself a capable war counselor. I'll catch up with you soon enough, Blythe. When I do, I only hope you'll accept my apology.
E.G. is devastated by his actions, and is very remorseful, saying that he'll catch up with Blythe soon enough. It seems like E.G. is aware of his impending death as well, perhaps the one that he initiated. As the Mirror Helm states, E.G. was terrified of his own treachery, and his betrayal of Blythe could have been too much for him to handle, so he lifted his helm off and placed it on the anvil, waiting for the alerted Black Knife assassins to kill him. A very romantic theory, but there's one question to this story that just doesn't fully add up to me. If E.G. was the one to take his helmet off, encouraging his own death, then why are there bodies of the Black Knife assassins? You don't think you would put up a fight if you wanted yourself dead. Maybe E.G. just saw the writing on the wall with the assassins going to Blythe, and he knew that he would be next. He knew who the assassins were targeting, and maybe they were those that were close to Rani. Perhaps the betrayal that E.G. was afraid of was his following of Rani, and turning away from the Greater Will. Now I feel like we have reviewed all of the evidence, investigated all of the leads, and are ready to accuse those responsible for the murder of E.G., once the beloved Carian royal family blacksmith. Even though E.G. was a kindly fellow, his affiliation with Rani led to much treachery and stress onto E.G.'s life. The black flames on E.G.'s body could lead to the involvement of the God-skinned apostles and their clone-eyed queen, who could range from being Michaela to Melina, but there isn't really a clear motive for why the God-skinned apostles would do this, and some Black Knife assassins, like the ringleader Alecto, could also produce this black flame. Yes, E.G. was remorseful for the death of his companion Blythe, so much so that he was longing to meet with him upon death. It seems he did take off his helm and venture into the middle of the road, but this wasn't to admit defeat. It was perhaps in preparation to battle the Black Knife assassins, perhaps to face death without any fear. I think perhaps the most obvious evidence are the true killers, and that are the Black Knife assassins, with them sacrificing many in order to kill E.G. But who was in control of the Black Knife assassins? Initially I was going to go out on a limb and accuse Marika of killing E.G. through the use of the Black Knife assassins. The Black Knife assassins do have close ties to Marika herself, as the Black Knife set suggests. And Marika would have also worked alongside Rani and felt betrayed. Marika is no stranger to killing her children, planning to kill Godwyn the Golden for being too loyal to the Golden Order. And when Rani betrayed Marika on the night of the Black Knives, her relationship with the assassins was severed, with Alecto being locked up in the Moonlight Altar, an area affiliated heavily with Rani's quest. This could have angered Marika and the Black Knife assassins, beginning to hunt down Rani and her henchmen. But I would like to accuse the true aggressor and instigator of the E.G. and Blythe murders, and that is of the Greater Will, which is a bit difficult to lock away in a cell, but I believe that they were the instigators. These deaths didn't occur or escalate until Rani killed her own two fingers, cutting communication to the Greater Will. This caused not only Blythe to go mad, attacking the Tarnished, but also for the Black Knife assassins to be sent against Rani and all of her henchmen. But Blythe still managed to defend Rani. E.G., on the other hand, saw the writing on the wall, and when he saw the Black Knives approach, in a powerful gesture, he took off his helm, no longer afraid of being against the Greater Will and the Fingers, and valiantly fought the Black Knife assassins to his death. Hopefully E.G. and Blythe are feeling avenged, but maybe this is not the correct answer. Like Blythe, maybe E.G. could easily dispose of the Black Knife assassins, and while examining their bodies, a deeper, darker foe surprised him. Who do you think was the true killer of E.G.? Was it someone we perused during this investigation? Or someone left completely unscathed? Let's stay on the prowl for more murders in the lands between. In fact, there's one murder of Rani's posse that we failed to mention during this investigation, and maybe this individual has their own story to tell, their own murder mystery that's waiting to be solved.